Hello, all, and welcome to another episode of All Podcasts Matter. We're reporting live from John Wayne's Safe House. This episode is brought to you by Grandma's Pepper Steak. Grandma's Pepper Steak, because that's what she was cooking when we showed up.
Thanks for tuning in tonight. I am your co-host, Zach Blackwell.
Here always, whenever I'm not stuck in rehab, Joe the Bouncer.
Yeah, we're short 2 of the 4 tonight, right?
Yeah,
I guess
yeah.
they're in rehab tonight as well. I'm not sure for what issues, but
Yeah, well, when it comes to rehab, sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's just
court ordered.
yeah. There you go.
All right, so we're gonna do things a little differently tonight. I mean, being down 2 people, it's gonna give us a little bit of room for some fun. As we're doing this, leave us some comments on the Facebook page.
Sure.
Give us some ideas. What do you want to talk about? What do you want us to talk about?
Or you can comment directly on the podcast site. Either way.
I mean, whatever you want to do, that works.
Yep.
So, we've got a few things to talk about here. Netflix is, they're becoming pretty well known for doing their own series, their own movies and whatnot. There's one out now that's kind of catching everybody's eye. It's called Mascots.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of competitive mascotting?
And I think, actually, to be honest, I think it's a real thing.
I've never heard of it, in all honesty.
I hadn't heard. I think it's a real thing. I haven't done any research on it, but I know a lot of people have talked about it before, so I'm not sure if that's a new thing. And what it is it's coming October 13th is when it starts. Sports mascots reveal their particularities in their ultra competitive world as they pursue the highest honor in their field. The gold fluffy is apparently. Now I don't know. I've heard of furries getting together.
Furries. But keep an eye on the All Podcast Matter Facebook page. We've got a link to the trailer up there now. We should actually probably let's just play the trailer, and we can just kind of let them know what they're what they're getting into.
Yeah, we'll see if we can't get that up. But I mean, I've seen the trailer myself, and it's not that bad. It looks like it might actually be kind of funny.
We have, compared to the mass majority of people who think they're film critics and people that just sit on their asses and watch it on TV, I mean, we obviously have very different opinions on what could be good. And the reason I'm saying that is I was looking up a little bit on this Mascot series, and people are just tearing it apart. They're saying it's absolutely terrible, and it looks good though.
That's the beautiful thing about us on that aspect is we don't conform to what what you would think that what critics have to say about it. We form our own opinions on everything that we watch, and that's why we have 4 people. So all of our opinions are different. All right, I got it all loaded up and ready to go. So let's go ahead and play it for a little bit. And I don't think we'll play the whole thing. It's pretty long. Well, it's like 2 minutes. We're running.
Not unlike a marriage in that it's about cooperation. Mm-hmm. It's about listening.
Yeah.
Even if people are screaming at you, you're not allowed to talk. And that's a good lesson for a marriage.
Yeah.
Hundreds of mascots wanted to compete in this year's competition.
Am I the only one that wanted
20
mascots to be fighting?
Danny the donkey, my mascot, was the
Ace
first one
Ventura
to have
type
an
stuff.
anatomically correct costume. I was overcompensating. Classic overcompensation.
I'm Alvin the armadillo. I love all kinds of dancing. I can hip hop. I can pop.
Oh my God.
I went to the Fluffies 5 years ago. I got honorable mention. That's like first place, really, but it's a weird first place.
My name is Tommy, also known as the Fist. A lot of people say
He's
I'm
just a
the bad
giant
boy
fucking
of
fist.
sports mascot.
Have you ever seen a fist skate?
Here I am, currently serving 6 temporary suspensions.
I announced the gold category. I wrote a book and I got more applause than you did.
It's winning awards, though.
Yeah, it's winning awards. So
No, they made me this
have
size
you seen
when
this
I was
little guy?
born.
I can't think of his name. He's a comedian. He's funny as shit.
No, it's not like that.
Wasn't he in one of those American Pie spinoffs?
Not that I've seen, but I caught his stand-up. It's really funny, actually.
potions.
That came so close to me.
Benny, the banana slug failed his drug test.
What? Have you been drinking today?
Yes. No. Yes.
Laughing.
We have a drug problem.
And we got a sex problem.
Hey, get back here.
Mascots, they don't die. They just hang in a closet.
Yeah, because it's an outfit.
It is. It's an outfit.
Yeah, so that's about it.
about you.
That's really sweet.
I'll take that over some guy, defecating on my head.
Yeah, me too. Shit. To be completely honest.
It works. But yeah, trailers on the hashtag All Podcasts Matter Facebook page. Check it out. It looks to be promising, but again, that is on our side.
Yeah.
There's a couple other things that are out too. I wanted to kind of touch on the new King Arthur Legend of the Sword movie.
Yeah. So Jax from Son of Anarchy will be in that.
Charlie Hunnam, I know there's a lot of listeners out there that are pretty in love with Charlie Hunnam.
Oh yeah. I'm in love with him myself, to be completely honest.
I'm not going to confirm or deny my stance on it, but I'll say that I've only seen about 6 episodes of Sons of Anarchy.
Oh my goodness. I don't know how to respond to that.
I just never got around to doing it.
Well, I mean, it's still there. It's not like it's going anywhere.
But I mean, apparently Charlie Hunnam he's an all-around good actor. I mean, I've never even heard of him being in anything but Sons of Anarchy, but...
I mean, well, yeah, he was in that terrible fucking robot movie.
Which one?
The one, Pacific Rim.
Never saw that one either.
Yeah, well, you're probably better for it.
Yeah. But, yeah, check out the IMDb page. I mean, it's kind of a developing project going on right now. I think there are some teaser trailers out there.
It's on there. I got the trailer posted now, so if you want to check out our Facebook page, the trailer's posted now. Check it out for show, whichever. It's I don't have a whole lot of information on it. I mean, I didn't watch the whole trailer. It looked good, so I turned it off. So if you want to check it out and tell me if it looks
yeah, leave us some thoughts. I mean, we're basically just touching on it. I mean, because anything done right regarding King Arthur, or just that era in general. I mean, those movies and those pieces. Anything you see on like History Channel or Spike, whatever have you. I mean, it ends up being pretty good. I mean, it makes me think what it could turn into. I mean, could it be a franchise? Could they get into more of the round table stuff? Could they, do more with the entire series? But possibilities, really. I'm into that kind of thing. I don't know what else to really touch on with it other than it just looks awesome.
They've made some good movies, and I kind of round up King Arthur, that whole thing, along with Robin Hood and everything. They've made some really good movies. They've made some terrible ones too. So, the older ones really, really, like, I'm talking like 80s. They're just terrible. There's the one called The Sword and Stone. I think it's on Stars right now, and it's just fucking. Oh man, the dialogue. Well, I think what it was is they're looking for people to deliver their lines more as you would if you were on a play or whatever. And it was just terrible. But I mean,
again, it's got to be done right though. Those kind of things. I mean, there's probably more terrible ones than actual good ones.
Well, I mean, everything's hit and miss, really. Everything's hit and miss. I'm not really the one to be bouncing the whole trailers off of, because you're like, I'll watch the first couple of seconds of it, and if it really does look like it's going to be good, then I got to turn it off.
Yeah, I mean, trailers, they have a tendency to ruin movies for me, for
everyone,
for 2 reasons. First one being, if the movie ends up being mediocre, all of the good stuff ends up being in the trailer, or the half a dozen trailers that are released over a couple-month period.
Yeah.
I mean, tons of movies are absolutely they're shredded by that. While we're talking about movies coming out, a big one that's going around that everybody seems to be stoked for. Back in early 2000s, there were a couple of movies that came out called The Ring and The Ring 2.
Mm-hmm. Big fan of The Ring.
The Ring was totally original idea, in my opinion, and I can remember watching it and being legitimately terrified. I mean, I may have been only about 9-10 years old when the movie came out, the first one anyway. But I mean, it was
still in an era where it was plausible that you had that VHS tape that wasn't marked that you might accidentally put in and see some shit that might kill you in 7 days.
Well, yeah, and you think about it now. I mean, people that are, 13, 14 years old now, they probably don't even know what the fuck a VHS tape is.
Oh, yeah.
What's a VCR?
Yeah. And, and I'm sure it's gonna be more towards something that's gone viral, in this one.
Oh yeah, it's gotta be. I mean, because before we touch on that, I mean, we're gonna post the trailer for this one as well. I mean, there are little bits in the trailer. You see the video is being shared on social media sites. It's being emailed to people, downloaded, things like that. So being viral, that could be. I mean, that's a whole new ground.
Yeah.
I mean, especially bringing in the mass communication aspect. I mean, how many people are going to die in 7 days?
If I remember right, they were going to show it. No, you know what? Never mind. I got the spoof in my head of the movie. Like at the end of the movie, I thought they were going to show it live on the news, but I think that was on the spoof. Touching back on the King Arthur movie, Sam posted, wanted to know if he thinks Guy Ritchie's directing the new King Arthur. Like I said, I didn't catch much of the preview. I mean, it's on the page right now if you want to check it out for yourself. I'm not sure who's directing it, but getting back to it's actually called Rings this time,
right?
And it looks like they're going down the same kind of the same genre of the film, saying that what happened in the first two movies happened when it happened, and this is the future to that. It's kind of what I took away from it. I didn't get it. We'll get the trailer posted, but I didn't get too far into it, and I wanted to see it, so I stopped watching it. Unfortunately.
Well, yeah, and I just out of sheer excitement, I had to go and look up every little bit on this new Rings movie. All the trailers, all the teaser trailers. Mm-hmm. It's the fact that it's kind of expected that it's been 10 plus years since the originals came out, and they're doing it. I mean. We kind of touched on this last week. As far as movies go, we're just in an era of unoriginality.
Yeah.
But this had me legitimately excited because I was just a huge fan of Ring 1 and Ring 2.
Yeah.
What was the little girl's name? Samara. The one that actually came out of the TV and was in the well and whatnot. I used to have nightmares about her.
Yeah.
It got to the point where, I'd be in school and someone with long black hair, I'd be like, fuck.
Yeah, and in touching on that originality thing, you want to see your favorite movies redone. You want to see your favorite comics or cartoons made into live action or whatever the case may be. You want to see it, but when they can't meet your expectations, it seems like a bad movie. But in reality, I think is we're looking at our, what's the word I'm looking for? Our sense of nostalgia towards that era,
just kind of reliving things.
Yeah, and you're putting too much. You're hoping for too much because the fact of the matter is nothing can take you back.
No.
So if they remake like you guys were talking about in the last podcast, the Power Rangers movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so if they remake the Power Rangers, it's not going to take you back to that feeling when you were sitting in front of the TV watching as a kid. So I think that somehow gets convoluted in people's heads, and they think about that, and they think that that's what it's going to take them back, and it's just not. They get the expectations that they're going to watch this movie, and it's going to be as good as when they were watching it as a kid. But I can tell you from personal experience, I grew up watching Transformers, G.I. Joes, and when I try to watch Transformers now, it's like fucking knives in my eyes.
Well, there's nothing there anymore. I mean, you gotta think that you're in a mindset when you're a kid, when you're young, and all this stuff is brand new. I mean, your view on absolutely everything is so different. Even you give it 5 years from then, things are going to be a little different.
Yeah.
And I mean, I agree with what you're saying. How you go in with a certain expectation. People they go in and they get excited about all these remakes and these reboots and these continuances of all these awesome movies and TV shows that they were there 10, 20, 30 years ago, and that's where the letdown is. You can't go in thinking it's going to be exactly the way it was. Now, but where I get excited and where I get happy about that kind of thing is the fact that they can take something like, say, the Ring 1 and the Ring 2 and whether it's a reboot or if it's a continuance in this sense, hit it for the modern times, but still have that same premise. There's this video, you watch it, you die in 7 days. It's cool that they can bring it forward for times like today, and for a generation that doesn't know what a VHS tape is.
Yeah.
And it's exciting and it's interesting to watch, but to go in and think that it's going to be exactly like the original is just, it's naive, and you're only setting yourself up for disappointment.
And Sam makes a good point. He says marketing also plays a huge part in making us, playing up the nostalgia factor to make you want to see those types of movies. He also stated that the trailer made it seem more like it was going to be like an epidemic then, versus a tape being passed around, which is, well, we got it on there, so if you want to check it out after the show, that's fine. It's there for you to do so. But I want to kind of talk about something kind of out of that realm. There's an article I read about the government, and I'm not sure which government it is. I'll post let me just post it real quick. I'll post the article right now where they're saying that they want to, on a genetic level, they want to destroy the whole species of mosquitoes.
I, for one, am all for it. Sign me up. Take a little bit out of my paychecks every 2 weeks. I will fund this. Mosquitoes, they have no place here.
And that's my point on it. I actually thought about it. They're not a keystone. They're not a keystone species. They don't help the environment in any way. The only thing they really do is spread disease. And the article was saying that it's the number one killer. If out of all the animals, it's like the number one killer. So I don't know. Read the article. It's in the. I read it in the Wall Street Journal, but I got the article linked in there if you want to check it out. I don't know. You tell me if you agree or disagree. I mean, some people say 10 years from now I may find out that mosquitoes are the ones that been keeping us alive this whole time. You fuck around and get rid of them, and who knows what the fuck happened.
Yeah. What happens? 10, 15 years from now, they say, well, we were working on something and it seemed pretty promising, and it turns out that the blood or something from a certain species of mosquito will cure AIDS.
Yeah. Sam's like, fuck mosquitoes.
And that's what I'm saying. I say, you know what, let us keep the AIDS. You take mosquitoes out of the picture. We'll deal. We will deal at that point.
Yeah.
But then on the other level, what happens when the mosquito shows up?
Yeah.
The one that spawned every mosquito. the one that's absolutely unkillable. We're talking the size of Joe's head here. I mean, this is a big fucking mosquito. He's going to show up. He's going to end up in some small town like, I don't know,
Newport, West Virginia. Newport, West Virginia. The mosquito of all mosquitoes have been sighting. He's reaping terror down the eastern seaboard as we speak. No amount of DEET will keep him away.
He is growing, and we can't stop it. He's growing. He has like 19 legs now.
And unfortunately, the only thing that can kill the giant mosquito is little mosquitoes, which we've.
The tiny mosquitoes have to revolt, and we've killed all of them.
Yeah. So I mean, it's an interesting thought. I mean, they probably won't go through it. There's so many tree huggers out there that tell you, you can't do this, you can't do that. So I mean, to get rid of a whole species is going to be a big deal.
I say just do it. I read something like that. I mean, not necessarily about just wiping out all the mosquitoes, but somewhere recently, I don't know if it was in another country or what, but some company was spraying for mosquitoes and ended up just killing millions of bees.
Yeah, which you can't do.
Well, I'm all for it, though, because I don't like bees either. I know that would be detrimental to...
Yeah, they're actually a keystone species. They're the one who pollinate everything. So
I mean, that would be detrimental. I mean, I'm just speaking cynically and...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say I don't like bees, too, but, I mean, honestly, I've only been stung once, and it was when I was a little kid. And there's people like, oh, bees, but how many times do they actually sting people,
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're nature's little kamikazes. I mean, they don't want to sting you because they will die.
Yeah.
But, I mean, at that point, fuck mosquitoes.
Yeah.
They are pointless creatures. They cause nothing but inconvenience for absolutely everybody, and they'll kill people too.
Yeah. Keeping in the world news, what were you saying? You were telling me something earlier about this kid in New York.
Oh man, it was on the way here actually. It's probably a broken record at this point. Everybody's probably hearing about it. I don't think anybody's really freaking out about it, but the Samsung Galaxy Note 7 phone that just came out, there's a huge recall on it. Apparently batteries are exploding. Like legitimately exploding, catching fire, like boom, breaking the sound barrier. Apparently in Brooklyn, New York, a little 6-year-old boy, he was just watching a video on a Note 7 and it just blew up and caught fire right in front of him. He had terrible burns all over his body, apparently, set off the smoke and fire alarms in the apartment complex. He's gonna live. I mean, he's gonna live. I mean, that's cool.
Who cares if he really if he lives or dies? I mean, if he would have died, I mean, I'm not being a dick, but I mean, honestly, if he would have died, then it would have been
Samsung would be shut down probably.
Now, you have the 7, right?
We're actually broadcasting from the Note 7 as we speak.
At a safe distance. Can you take the back off and the battery out?
No.
Why are they doing that?
It makes for a more efficient phone.
Does it?
Battery life lasts longer. They can compartmentalize everything on the inside, make for slimmer models, more durable models. But also, you've got the water resistance. They can't make it as water resistant as it is without making the battery non-removable. It was.
I like being able to take my battery out. I don't know if I got the Edge, the
Note Edge.
Yeah, and I got 4 batteries for it, and they all stay charged. And if I got to go do something, I'll grab an extra battery, take it with me. People are running around with cords and outlet looking for an outlet, and I just pop a new fucking battery in.
Right.
And I think it's, if they could have just recalled the fucking batteries.
They could have. It would have just taken too much time to have everybody send their phones in. They fix or replace the batteries. At this point, they're just gonna use different batteries, or they fix the issue, and then they're just gonna send out all new phones for everybody.
I suppose it's not too bad. I mean,
it's not terrible. It's a pain in the ass because it was supposed to be this coming week where we could go and exchange them, and apparently it's going to take a couple more weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm risking my life for the next couple of weeks.
Just use your headset.
Yeah.
Keep it away from your face.
Well, it was, when the story first started going around, it was supposed to only be happening when it was charging and when you were using a charger that wasn't made by Samsung.
See, and there's a thing with that, because most of these new phones, they have to be rapid charged, and if you're using some kind of a trickle charger or something like that,
it'll just fuck your shit up royally.
When cell phones first came out, the big issue was leaving it plugged in, because they didn't have the technology to shut themselves off. They would just keep charging. He's not saying anything important.
Right.
So, I don't know. I mean, it's the way the technology and cell phones have grown by leaps and fucking bounds, man. I mean, like, I'm just astonished. Coming from, you guys don't understand it, but, coming from my generation where, for one, you had to pay $900,000 for a fucking phone. B, it didn't work everywhere, and C, it weighed fucking 7 pounds.
Pay $100 for 6 minutes a month.
Yeah, and then when you did get a connection, you could only talk for 20 minutes because the 7-pound battery didn't last very long. So, but to be honest, that's more my brother's generation. My generation was the Nokia, the indestructible, bulletproof Nokias.
And those are indestructible, by the way.
Yeah. So, I mean, coming from those to me always wanting a better phone. And like when Matrix came out, you didn't think I was the first motherfucker to jump on there and get that phone?
Oh, fuck yeah. The little slide out phone. You hit the button, click, everybody wanted that phone.
Huge thing. And then with those Nokias, they have like what they called, I think they were called tattoos, where you get these stupid little decorations that go on the side of it.
Yep.
Big fucking deal. Big, huge deal. Now I download movies from my fucking phone. You can run an entire business from your fucking phone.
These smartphones, they're so much more capable than what people give them credit for. I personally think that ISIS is totally run off of, a smartphone.
It's probably fucking like 9 little bastards, fucking 9 fucking 12-year-old fucking juvenile delinquents in fucking Israel or wherever the fuck they're from.
They're just trolling people.
Trolling the shit out of people. And then some idiots are believing them and running out and doing it. It's like Columbine, you know. I don't know.
Oh, kind of going back to just real quick, I mean, going to the Nokias and whatnot, there's a video I saw on YouTube a while back. This YouTube channel, these couple of guys, they do extreme drop tests on all these new phones. They fly a drone up to 900 feet, 900 or 1,000 feet, and they just drop the phone and see how well it survives. I'm pretty sure the Nokia survived.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna find that video. I'm actually gonna post it because it was ridiculous. It's entertaining if you're into that kind of shit. I mean, I'm kind of lonely, so.
Yeah. There's actually quite a few videos out there, or channels out there that do stuff like that. And I want to start this new little thing where one of us will give our favorite, or one of our favorite YouTube channels that we subscribe to and watch on a daily basis. I'll post. I got one called Diresta.
Diresta. Okay, what do they do?
All right, so it's this guy named Jimmy Diresta, and he's a fabricator. He does knives. He does anything. And I'm telling you, it's like I've seen every single one of his fucking videos. I'm like, I wait. This guy notifies me when he posts new shit. I'll post a link to his YouTube page. But the first one I ever seen, I saw by accident, and he did like 17 different screwdrivers, not screwdrivers, but bottle openers out of just random junk in his workshop. You know, he would take a screwdriver and bend it, turn it into a bottle opener, pop the bottle, drop it down. But he's done knives, and which spawned me into wanting to watch a bunch of fucking. I'm basically a blacksmith now, because I've seen so many blacksmith videos, and I'm watching that Forged in Fire on Discovery Channel. Yeah, so I'm basically a blacksmith now. I mean, I recognize that I couldn't do that shit, but yeah, I mean, in theory, I am. So I'll get a post up of Jimmy Diresta and get it shared on a page, and then
yeah, I want to check some of that out.
Do you have any? What do you normally watch, Zach?
You know, I don't really follow just one channel in specific. It's more or less like a category of types of videos.
Yeah.
You know, I definitely like I like looking up movie theories, like fan theories for movies and whatnot. Or just in general, people's kind of warped opinions on certain movies or certain flicks. One channel, I mean, they kind of do something like this in a very cynical and asshole type way. It's a channel called CinemaSins.
Oh yeah.
What they do is they take pretty much whatever movie they feel like talking about, and they'll just kind of fast forward through the movie, and they will tally up what they think are sins in the movie. So. Yeah. Basically just calling out all the in-continuity errors or, you know, say filming problems. Like, say, something is in a certain position in one frame and then the next frame it's in a totally different position. It can be interesting, but it also gets very irritating and annoying at the same time because these guys are just... I think they're just dicks for the sake of being dicks.
Sometimes, and I've seen quite a few of them. That's one of Darius's favorite
channels.
YouTube channels, yeah, and I've seen quite a few of them, and some of the times when it's just a good movie, they just call out random bullshit.
Right. They will take, you know, a top 10 movie from, like, say, the IMDb page, and it'll end up having like 120 sins in it. The way they title and format all their videos is say everything wrong with insert movie title here in 10 minutes or less. You know, one movie that they just totally ripped apart. Well, they do it with a lot of them, actually, are all of the comic book and superhero movies that, you know, past or present. It used to be they really only did, you know, current movies that are coming out, but in the last couple of years, they've gone back and done older movies that are just loved by the world over, and they just rip it apart.
Yeah. Julia posted on a comment saying, you know, everything wrong with ... and then whatever the movie. You know, that's the CinemaSins thing. That's exactly what we're talking about. Is that YouTube channel CinemaSins?
Yeah, so I mean, check them out. I mean,
I think some of it's funny, some of it's not.
Some of it is just literally.
And some of it will irritate the shit out of you because, like, that's my jam. You're not going to talk about that movie like that. I don't care what you say, and how many discounts you give it.
Right. Or, you know, one thing that just irritates me to no end is when they do a movie based on a DC Comics movie. the very first sin, quote unquote sin, at the beginning of every movie, when they're doing the opening credits and the opening studio logos, as soon as the DC Comics logo shows up, they say DC Comics, one sin. And it's, I don't get how that's a sin. And now,
they had an agenda with DC is all.
Probably. I mean, whether it's to tear them down or to give them promotion, who knows? But I mean, they do it with Marvel Comics too. I say Marvel Comics, ding, sin.
Yeah.
You know, and the DC movies, they always end up with more sins than the other companies for some reason. And, you know, I mean, DC doesn't really have that great of a track record with their movies anyway, as far as critically anyway. I mean, I love the majority of them.
Yeah, Julia commented. She said sometimes they don't even look at source material for movies like comics, video games, etc. Yeah, and you're right, and they don't. And
they can't though in most cases. I mean, they can take from it and say, like CinemaSins, for example. Sometimes they'll make little comments or complaints about how, okay, well, this happened in the comic, but it didn't happen in the movie this way. It should have.
Yeah.
What people fail to realize though is 99% of the source material cannot be translated well to film.
Yeah.
It just cannot happen.
Unless you're planning a 9-hour movie.
Right. And I don't know if you saw that new Batman animated flick that came out recently, The Killing Joke.
Huh.
Well, people are just completely pissed off by it because the first half of the movie is something that has absolutely nothing to do with the original Killing Joke story. It was Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, just a big sex scandal story, between her and Batman and whatever villain they had going on. And then like 40 minutes into the movie, they finally touch on the actual story, which was pretty accurate to the source material, but they just couldn't turn that into a 90-minute animated movie.
Yeah.
It's a short story. I could read that book in 20, 25 minutes. So the fact that they even made it a movie was strictly because the fans have been asking for it for so long. Yeah.
I don't know if we didn't get the link out, but the link's up there now. If you weren't listening live from Facebook. Like I said, I don't know about that storyline myself, but
basically it's an origin story of the Joker.
Oh, okay.
Well, they touch on the origin story, but it also it goes a little deeper, and it kind of deals with the mortality of Batman and Joker's relationship. The opening lines of the actual graphic novel, it has to do with Batman saying, we can't keep this up forever. One of these days it's going to end either with me killing you or you killing me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and I don't know, that whole different comics, different aspects of it. I personally can't keep up with it. I'm not a fanboy by any means, but I can't keep up with it, so I'll just be one of the sheep, and when they make it into a major motion picture, I guess that's what I have to go by.
Oh yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's so much to keep straight going on with comic books. Not even just superhero comics, but comics in general. Yeah. Walking Dead is a big one.
Yeah.
Now, Walking Dead's been going on for over 10 years now, and they're just now getting into a lot of the really dark and ballsy stuff that the comics did. But there's so much that's different with The Walking Dead that was so different from the comics.
Yeah.
For example, Norman Reedus' character in The Walking Dead, his character didn't exist in the comics whatsoever. He was made strictly for the show, and he ends up
Norman Reedus.
He's Murphy from Boondock Saints.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
But
stuff like that. You see how good it turned out, though.
Well, yeah.
That's just like
he became the moneymaker for the show.
You won't read anything about Harley Quinn in any comic books to the TV show, to the cartoon.
Exactly.
So yeah, stuff like that. It's a natural evolution of certain characters, which is good.
But that also goes back to my point of saying you can't translate the source material 100%, at least well to TV or film.
Yeah. Well, I think what Julia was trying to say is that CinemaSins, or whichever the name of it is, they don't research the source material whatsoever.
They basically just talk shit to talk shit.
Yeah. Some of it's entertaining, especially when they're doing a really bad movie, because you're agreeing with a lot of it, or maybe they'll even call out something that you hadn't noticed. I prefer, and I don't think CinemaSins does it, but there is one that's just like him, that's linked to him, who does all the Easter eggs, and I like that because I miss a lot of that shit.
Oh yeah, the ones I like from that channel. I mean, I don't remember what their name is, but I like it when they do segments on video games and all the Easter eggs in the video games. You know, I mean, I know I keep going on and on about Batman in this episode, but they do a lot of those Easter eggs on the Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and Arkham Knight video games.
Yeah.
I mean, there are hundreds of Easter eggs, and you know, if you're a diehard fan or even just a fan in general, I mean, it's interesting to watch.
Yeah, it's the comedic value of it. Of a lot of those things is the only reason why you can't take too many of it too serious. But like you said, or like I said earlier, if you listen to if they're down in one of your favorite movies, it's just enough to piss you right the fuck off.
Exactly.
You know. I know I'm not gonna say a whole lot about this, but I do want to point out the fact that it is 9/11.
Yeah.
And I don't really have a whole lot to say about it. You know, I know we talked about terrorism earlier, but in a joking manner, but I don't have, you know, I did want to just acknowledge the fact that it is 9/11. It did suck what happened, but
yeah, you know, it was a tragedy. It's, you know, it's interesting.
Blackwell, you got a little, what is it you were telling me earlier about George Carlin? Tell me about that. Since we're talking about 9/11, let's just keep it more all podcast matters.
Yeah.
Versus, what was you telling me about George Carlin and 9/11?
Oh, so it was a couple days ago. I read something. If you don't know who George Carlin is, George Carlin was a stand-up comedian, but he was straight up political.
Yeah.
He had a way of, you know, in his stand-up comedy, of being downright hilarious but getting a message across.
Yeah.
You know, he was a very no holds bar, no bullshit type of comedian. He died in 2008, sadly. You know, it was a bummer. I mean not everybody is into his stuff. I mean, a lot of people are just downright offended by him.
Yeah, he had a short part in that Dogma movie.
Oh yeah, I mean he's in actually a couple of those Kevin Smith movies.
Yeah.
But I was reading a couple days ago that George Carlin did a stand-up special or recorded a stand-up record. Exactly, it was the day before September 11th, 2001. And he did a bit about, you know, mass death and just a bunch of people dying all at one time. And it ended up being that he was going to call the stand-up comedy special, I Kind of Like It When a Lot of People Die.
Yeah, so it's no big surprise that hasn't been released.
Yeah, so they more or less, you know, the next day 9/11 obviously happens, and it's kind of weird for George Carlin, but he just kind of thinks, well, this might be in poor taste to put this out. But what I read is next week they're actually releasing the stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And I think they actually released the actual bit about him talking about, you know, mass death and all that. I think it's on YouTube as kind of like a preview of the entire record. But I'll probably end up getting it just because I'm a big George Carlin fan.
Yeah. Sam says George Carlin isn't offensive. People just suck. Well, that sounds like more like a direct quote from George Carlin.
Yeah, that sounds exactly something like George Carlin would say.
Barry says Carlin's whack.
You know, that's all right. And like I said, people either love him or they hate him. There's no gray area with him.
I mean, you can't take a whole lot of him because he is kind of...
He's very redundant.
Or repetitive, or he's, you know, he is what he is.
He's a complainer.
Yeah, he does his rants, and all of his shows are pretty much the same. But he is funny on film, if you ask me. Like we said, he was in Dogma, and he was in several of Kevin Smith's films, which, you know, are becoming cult classics. Yeah. So, like you were saying before with the episode, what was you saying about cult classics? What was that little...
It got me thinking that, you know, you've got all these movies that, you know, came out 15, 20, 30 years ago, and they were just pretty much hated by the world over, but they end up being cult classics today. You know, movies like, say, The Boondock Saints, Evil Dead, you know, Basketball, Caddyshack, you know, the National Lampoon's Vacation movies. You know, I mean, yeah, people might have thought they were good and funny as, you know, like a see it once, never watch it again. Yeah. But now people love them, like diehard fans.
Yeah.
It got me kind of thinking what movies have come out recently, you know, in the last 5-10 years that may end up being cult classics, you know, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
I was just kind of thinking about it, and there are certain movies that I think will end up being cult classics. One is that I just recently saw, well, not recently, but maybe in the last year or so. Eli Roth put it out. It's a movie called Knock Knock.
Yeah.
It has Keanu Reeves in it. It's very much a B movie. I don't think it was in a whole lot of movie theaters, and if it was, it didn't last for very long. The movie didn't make hardly any money, I don't think. But, I mean, long story short, it has to do with Keanu Reeves. He's in the house alone for a weekend, and these two really young girls show up in the rain, knocking on his door. They have no phone. They're stranded. And his
wife and kids are out of town, mind you.
Yeah, his wife and kids are on vacation or something like that. And ends up being that they work their way in, and Keanu Reeves is just fighting back this entire time, but they end up seducing him and more or less end up blackmailing and exploiting the shit out of him. I'm talking, they straight up rape this man at one point.
Literally rape him.
Literally, like he is tied up. And I mean, there's some sick, sociopathic, sadistic shit going on in that movie. I mean, I thought it was good. Not the greatest acting. I mean, especially if you know Keanu Reeves. I mean, it was a pretty low-end movie on his part, but I thought it was a good story. It was original. It was scary on a psychological aspect to it. I mean, check it out. I mean, it's not on Netflix or anything, but you could find it on demand or rent it for $1 at Family Video or something like that. But I mean, what do you think, though? I mean, what movies that came out recently that could be a cult film, 10, 20 years from now?
I don't know. To be 100% honest, it's hard to judge it. And you said Boondock Saints, and that writer-director, he didn't realize what he was doing when he did that. So when he made part 2, he tried to recreate the fire he missed, that he didn't realize he was doing when he made the first one. Yeah. With way more catchphrases, more something branding he can do.
Yeah, and I've said this a lot before, movies that should not have sequels made to them. A movie like The Boondock Saints was an accident. It was an anomaly. You can't recreate something like that, no matter how hard you try. Even if you wrote and directed the movie all by yourself, that's why The Boondock Saints Part 2 was not good at all.
Julia commented, she said Moon with Sam Rockwell could totally be one. I don't know that. I don't know that.
I've heard of it, but I've never watched it.
Well, we'll get the link put up on the page so everybody can find it. And Darius, Super Troopers 2 is not going to be good.
It's not going to be good. I mean, how long has that movie been in limbo?
The first one for sure.
Incredible.
Yeah.
But again, those movies are accidents. You can't recreate it.
And exactly, you can't.
Movies like Dumb and Dumber, Anchorman.
Yeah. And they tried to do it. They try to.
They literally take every aspect from
the first one.
I mean, movies like Dumb and Dumber 2, for example, they stole their own lines from the first movie.
Yeah. And really just redid the best parts. Just remade them.
And again, I mean, it is, a lot of it is purely because, people ask for it. Fans, they bitch and moan about it for so long. It's probably going to get made.
Yeah.
But at what cost? It was a terrible movie 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, Sam said Moon's dope. He says good movie, so we're going to have to check it out. We're running out of time. Darius was saying that was his point, that it wouldn't be, I'm sure that's fine. It wouldn't be a good one because the first one was so good. I guess I was off on that one with his comments. We're running out of time, but I think we're gonna do a 2-parter.
Yeah.
Since we got a little bit of a following right now.
Yeah.
So let's just go ahead and we'll shut down and get it started right back up and keep going with
we're gonna take a little break. Probably smoke a cigarette. We're gonna get some more links and whatnot posted for you, but stay tuned to the Facebook page, hashtag all podcasts matter. We'll be back here in a few minutes. We're still, surprisingly, nobody showed up, but we're still at the John Wayne Safe House.
Yeah.
But
we'll be fine here.
Yeah. I don't think they'll find us, but Tune in. I'm Zach Blackwell.
I'm Joe the Bouncer.
Peace.